Hello and welcome to the live stream for Anna Dressed in Blood. Here she is. I mean, look, I love this cover so much. I'm so excited to chat to some of my favourite booktubers that are on screen with me right now. We've got Kelsey, Kasia, Erin and Katrina. I don't know why I'm reading your names from the screen. I'm really tired. I did this to Cameron. I interviewed Cameron Chaney yesterday and I was like reading his name from the front of the book. I'm like, why do I do this? This is just a really bad habit. But thank you so much, all of you. I know you've all been on before in various capacities. It's lovely to have you on screen together to chat about Anna Dressed in Blood. There's lots of people in the comments already, but first I'm going to go around the group just so that you can introduce yourselves to everyone. I think most people already know who you are at this point, but let's go with Katrina. Do you want to start us off?
Oh, sure. My channel is Katrina Brown, and I read mostly horror. Sometimes I read thrillers, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I love Halloween, as you can probably see, Halloween all year. And yeah, I will say I haven't read Anna Dressed in Blood, or I haven't read it since May. So I read it in May. So hopefully I can remember everything.
It would have been funny if you just admitted, yeah, I haven't read it at all.
No, I didn't read it, actually. I'm here. I didn't read it.
She just wants the spoilers. That's fine.
I'd love that if you just completely made it up. We'd call that blagging in the UK. I don't know whether you have blagging in the States, but yeah, where you just like pretend, like, do you call that blagging? Is that a word you say? Like blagging is, do you know what blagging is, Kasia? Like where you pretend that you know. It's like, you know, when somebody at work says, you've read that report, haven't you? You know exactly what it's about. You're like, oh yeah, the report, the report. Yeah, that's blagging. So yeah, you could have done that, Katrina. That would have been fine. It'd have been funny. We could have really like tested you. Like, so what was that character called again? You'd be like, Fraff. He was called Fraff, yeah.
Yeah, I know I only remember like 2 people's names from the book.
I think 2 is probably enough for this book. That's fine. We can like refresh your memory for the other ones. How about you, Erin? Do you want to give yourself a quick introduction?
Hi, my name is Erin. My channel name is Erin Megan. I read horror, thrillers, romance, mysteries, manga, and yeah, that's about it, I guess. Yeah.
I feel like there's a theme going on, but I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves, although I think we read very similar stuff. And Kelsey, before you introduce yourself, can I say thank you for recommending Tastes Like Candy? I just read it. It was so good. Oh my God, it was so good. Like, I just was smiling all the way through. It kind of hit absolutely everything I wanted it to. It was great. And
I'm so glad.
I struggle so much with long books right now, and like I really need short things in between my writing and other stuff. So I'm like, short, really good book. Yes. So thank you. So apart from recommending excellent books, what else do you do, Kelsey?
Well, I love Tastes Like Candy, just to add on to what you said. It's my favorite slasher. It's so much fun. If anyone's looking for a great Halloween-y read, even though it doesn't take place during Halloween, they are at a Halloween carnival for part of the read. And the read is like late August, early September, right before school starts or right as school is starting. So it's not that far away from Halloween, but the big thing is the Halloween carnival and the kills are superb, like superb. I'm so glad you liked it, Amy. That makes me so happy.
They don't overdo it too much. I'm like learning with the more extreme side of horror, like they're really shocking, but then it gives you moments in between to kind of recover. I think some of them, if it's shock, I just get like a bit lost and a bit like numb to it all. But yeah, it did it really well.
Yeah, and I think it had great character development. I'm not going to go too much into Tastes Like Candy, but I'm just saying, if everyone's looking for great character development, but a fun slasher with great kills as well as humor, it has all of that. So it's not your typical slasher where you hate everybody and you don't get character development. That's what makes it a little different, I think.
Oh yeah, it hurt. It really hurt when they died.
Yes. I think that's what makes it stand apart, is that you actually, you know, give a flying hoot about these characters, you know? And that's a really weird phrase, a flying hoot. I've never ever said that.
You've all learned blagging. I've learned flying hoot tonight.
Yes, a flying hoot. Anyway, I am Kelsey from Simon Slashers. I say flying hoot, apparently. And I love Halloween too, just like everyone else here. Love horror. That's like my main genre is horror, but I also read vintage horror in addition to like newer horror as well. I'm all over the place. I also like 80s and 90s nostalgia, especially 90s Nickelodeon. So you might get a little bit of that if you check out my channel. That's me. That's it.
I love it. I love all of that. I love listening to all of you talking. I'm just nodding like, yes, manga, yes, Nickelodeon. I get it all. I'm following. And how about you, Kasha? I know that there's a lot of crossover with us as well, although Kasha is scarier than me in every way. Like, we were talking about The Gentleman last night. Me and Cameron are going.
I'll take that proudly. I'll take that.
I mean,
I'll
we're
take
going
that.
The Gentleman on Nightmare Fuel, and Kasha's like, oh, they're so cute. No, they're the scariest thing in the whole of Buffy, and Kasha finds them cute. Like, I feel like Kasha maybe doesn't need to introduce herself.
I actually have a doll of the gentleman. I should send you pictures for your
Yeah, please
nightmares.
do. If you want to just do it before bed, just to give me like the perfect nightmare, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself apart from that introduction I've just given you?
Sure. Apparently, I'm the worst. No.
You're like the scariest. I think I said that. Doesn't make the worst.
Possibly. My partner agrees with that. But anyways, he is concerned I'm gonna kill him at some point because of all my research on true crime, apparently. But anyway,
I mean, if he mess with you, he'll be fine, surely. Like, if he's to keep you really happy.
Sometimes he looks at me and he's like, "Should I be worried?" And I'm like, "No, honey." He's like, "Are you gonna kill me on my sleep?" I was like, "If I would do it, it wouldn't be on your sleep because then I don't get to enjoy it." You know, it's like, and then it's like, but you know, that's me basically. I don't know what introduction more you want.
No, I think that says it all. That's beautiful. So I'm going to jump into the comments to give us time to recover, and then let's get straight into the Anna chat. We've already established what this is going to be like, so let's get into it.
Chaotic.
No, so, when you said it's 70 pages in, I was like, oh no, but then I got to reread, so we're fine. Kirsty's read it before. We're not going to ruin anything. I was thinking actually, Kirsty, that I want to read the sequel next as well because it reminded me all the reasons why I love the first book. Rereading it. Hello, I had so much fun chatting to Kendare. Unfortunately, you only get to see an hour of it, but we chatted for like 2 hours. So all the kind of stuff at the beginning and end was fun too. But yeah, I've got a nice chunky interview coming very soon. Hello. Oh, sorry, the comments are doing the jumping around thing. Thank you for coming on. I'm super excited too. I find this book terrifying, I have to admit. It does dip into some things that really, really freak me out. Sorry if we're dipping in and out for you, Sharon. I think hopefully we look okay for everyone else. Hi, Jen. It is time. Jen is so excited to talk about this book. That sounds delightful. I feel like if any of us did that, it would be, can you imagine if a curry just turned up at the door? You enjoy your curry while we're talking. That sounds lovely. Hello, Melina. Thank you for coming on. Hi, Andreas. Andreas just put a really insightful comment in the group, and I was like, I'm going to remember this because he just explained Kendare Blake's writing style beautifully in the Goodreads group. And I read just now. Yes, agreed. I think Sharon also falls into the terrifying group, like you, Kasha. Not as a person, but in terms of reading taste. Like, you do like the extreme. It is the best way to be spooky all year. Hi, Paula. We are in good company here. What did I not just say? You're in the same team, and there you are. I would not put this by my bed. That would be like locked in a cupboard with the key thrown away. Kayon agrees with you, Kasha. You know?
It's good to know I'm not alone, you know.
Oh, if anybody needs the characters, there they are. Skip to Andreas' comments. Thank you. That is so helpful. It was Morfrin, I always forget. And I end up like waffling over his name when I reviewed it once. I was like, more. No. I'm going to jump to that when I get to the Morfrin bit. I kept, for some reason, in the reread, I know that we're talking spoilers now, anybody who hasn't read it. I was convinced that Morfrin was evil, and I was like, why did I think this? I've read it twice before. I was ready for him to reveal himself as like a big bad, and I was like, oh, he isn't. Did I just like
convince yourself? You convinced yourself.
Yeah, it's the third time I've read this book, like seriously. So apart from that, you already know my feelings. I am slightly biased already to this because I really like Kendare, and I absolutely love this book. But don't feel that you have to agree with me. I can't wait to hear what you all think of it. I said you all. I'm sorry, Kelsey. I could have done that better. Y'all.
Y'all. Let's hear what y'all have to say.
I know, what y'all have to say. It doesn't sound right with a like Yorkshire accent, does it? So I want to know what you thought of it, if you give star ratings, what you rated it or will rate it. And I think we'll start with Kasha. See what you thought of the not so extreme horror.
Yes, this is a smile for me. No.
Yeah, exactly.
This
is terrifying.
Yeah, not for me. But I enjoyed it because I think it had a good pacing. It was violent at moments, like it got bloody and stuff, but it also had a lot of heart to the characters. and it had things that normally you don't see on ghost stories. So I did enjoy it for that.
Yeah, I liked the fact of ghost plus gore. Like, you don't always get the gore with a ghost story, do you? Like, I liked and I liked the fact that that was different for Ghost too. Like, she was a special ghost that could murder people where they stood. Like, I thought that was really cool, and I like the fact that that wasn't all she was. Like, you got to see the two sides of her and how that kind of battled it out through the book. I thought that was really cool. I'd kind of forgotten that until I reread it, so that was a nice little surprise. How about you, Erin? What did you think of it?
I actually liked it too. I finished it last night. I was a little cutting it close before the live show. But I liked it. I struggled a little bit in the beginning getting into it. I think it was the main character. But I need to sit on it a little bit more before I give it a full rating. But it's probably either a 3.5 or a 4 for me.
Do you think that's the YA thing? Like, the YA character, like, if this had been an adult, like a Dean Winchester, like, maybe you'd feel differently? Because I think it does read very YA, like, I think deliberately so, but maybe that's where some adult readers, I think, it does, you know, like some YA books, you can imagine the characters are 25, which is generally what I do. Like, this one, I couldn't imagine Kaz being older because he acts like such a teenager. Yeah, I get that. How about you, Katrina? What did you think?
I gave it 4 stars back in May, and I really liked the mystery aspect of it too at the beginning, like him trying to figure out like what ghost or what killed his dad. And then, I liked the gore in it. I remember guts being said a lot in it. Oh, and then his guts came out or something. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay.
I love some guts in a YA book. Yeah, I definitely do.
Yeah. I was like, okay, lots of guts in this. And I also, like, it did feel young, but also I liked how much they cursed in it. I thought that was really fun. I was like, oh, yeah, like, just talk like sailors. Like, that's how teenagers talk these days, for real. So I really liked that aspect of it. I remember being like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the teenage boys are great. And I think the fact that it was Kendare's debut like 13 years ago, I think, 12 years ago. And they, like, the fact that they let her put swearing in it and violence and, like, trusted her with, like, letting it be exactly what she wanted it to be, I think is really cool. And it kind of feels like it could be a modern YA book. Like, you know, you read some older YA books and you think, oh, it's dated. Like, I feel like you could have told me that came out this year and I would have believed you. Like, I know the pop culture references are like vintage, but I think you get away with that these days because people are all into the 90s and stuff. So yeah, I like the fact that it still reads really current. It didn't, like, you know, when you reread Twilight and you're like, oh, I loved you in my early 20s.
Yes.
Like, I feel like I've changed a little. But yeah, this book didn't feel like it changed me. Like, I read it in my early-ish 20s and I still really loved it. How about you, Kelsey? How did you feel about it?
I really liked it quite a bit. I gave it a 4 as well, just like Katrina. I loved the gore in it because, like you said, not all ghost stories even have that. And I distinctly remember, especially like when Mike gets destroyed. Spoiler, this is definitely a spoiler. He's like ripped in half. I'm like, hell yeah. Like, yeah, rip that dude. He's a douchebag, so he deserved it. 1. 2, who hits somebody with like a board and then he's all surprised that the dude is like unconscious. I'm like, come on, you can't just go around hitting people in the head with boards and stuff and just like think that they're gonna be fine. Like, it was very weird, but he definitely got what he deserved. Sorry, Mike, but you suck. Anyway, I do think it read a little bit young, but that's because it's a YA. I don't mind YA. I actually thought it was a great YA. It was an entertaining one. Some YAs are more cringeworthy than others. I don't think this was a cringeworthy one. I thought the pacing was great for me personally. I do think my one gripe, the reason it's not a higher rating, is because I didn't totally buy in to the romance between Anna and Cass. I didn't like that. I actually liked Thomas's crush a little bit on, who is it, Carmel, a little bit more. Yes, Eris too. Yes. I like Thomas a lot. Like, Thomas, I think, might have been my favorite character.
Me too. That's how I feel so much. You just took it out of my mouth. I was like, I don't care about Cass and Anna. I want Thomas and Carmel. Let's get to them. Yeah,
that's how I felt.
Request that from Kendare. Can we have a Thomas and Carmel story at least, please?
I would read it. And honestly, I liked Thomas's personality for some reason. I just thought it was really likable. And Cass was cool too. He was interesting to follow. Like, he had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders. So I guess that's part of his character development. So, but I really like Thomas. I don't know why. I just didn't buy in. I felt like the Anna and Cass thing was like, I wish I had a little bit more from that, but still enjoyable. Still a 4-star rating is really good for me. So I really had a great time with it. Read fast, and I also just like Erin, I finished it last night, cutting it close. So yeah.
Me too.
I prefer to do that. I've made the mistake sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to die tonight. I finished it accidentally early 2 weeks before, and I got to talk about it and went, I've forgotten this book. This is so embarrassing. I did the same with Cameron. I interviewed him last night at 7:30. I finished the book at 7:15. So I could see on my Kindle how long. I saw how long I had left, and I was like, I've got 20 minutes to read. This is fine. I can get this finished in time. And I did confess to him. I was like, I planned this out. So since you brought up the romance, Kelsey, I was so curious about this because I know that romance is really divisive in YA books because my books have it in. And I get so many messages saying they love the romance and so many messages saying they hate the romance, more blood. And it just seems to split people, like they are either one or the other. So Kelsey, I think we've kind of got your feelings about it. I just was curious what the other three think. Like, what about you, Katrina? Are you pro romance in general? And in this book, how did you feel about it?
I'm not pro romance in general. I'm usually bored by romance stuff, but the Cass and Anna romance, that's probably why I knocked down a star. It was like, it felt like dragged a bit, or like dragged out a bit. And I was like, why are they focusing on that? They should be focusing on this other thing. So that's my whole thing. I'm like, why are they falling in love? There's other stuff going on. Like,
yeah. I wondered, there was a period of YA books where I heard that a lot of authors were asked to put it in because it seemed to be required of the time. Like, I remember, is it Taran Mathero? I watched an interview with him and he said his popular Summoner series, I think it was called, he was told to put romance in it by the publisher. So I do wonder sometimes if that's seen, particularly back then, as a real strong motivator, whereas I think now friendship seems to be given equal weight by publishers and authors. So I did wonder if it was that, and if it kind of was used to make you really care, we want to save Anna, something's going wrong, she, there's this horrible thing attaching to the situation. I think it was trying to up the stakes there. But yeah, I get it. I love romance, but I did think in this book actually it wasn't, I enjoyed it, but I didn't think it was necessary. You were sort of on the same page with that, Erin. That was what you kind of knocked it down for you, was it, a little bit as well?
Yeah, because I'm very pro-romance. I'm a very big advocate for romance in horror. I love the combination. I love it. I think it's amazing if it's done right. My problem is that I have to really care about them. I have to want them to be together. If they don't end up together at the end of the book, I'm going to sob my heart out. This has to work because I want to be so invested in them. And for me, I think it's also because Kaz just wasn't my favorite character. I just wasn't that invested in him as a person. I loved Anna. Anna was great. She was cool. But I knew that there wasn't really anything there because she's not alive. So I was like, I don't know how this is going to work out. So I'm just not going to get invested in this at all. So it just felt random to me. I was kind of like, oh, you're in love with her. Okay, that's weird. Sure. Okay. And then I just focused on Thomas and Carmel. And I was like, let me just put my focus on them. Go them, love them together.
The great thing with books, isn't it, that you can fixate on something and this is actually what this book is about to be now. That's fine. This is the Thomas and Carmel show. If you did that, that's cool. I agree. I think with horror sometimes, because I don't love it when it gets really intense in terms of the emotions or the gore, I like something like romance or comedy. Those two things to me pair with horror because it gives me a bit of levity and okay, I'm okay, I can recover while they're kissing, and then the killing starts again. I think that's why I like romance. It gives, and you said, it's that kind of really caring so intensely. It gives you that extra thing to root for. Especially if I can put myself in it. If I see my husband a little bit, one of the characters, or me, or my little boy, something, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is our family. I'm there. I need them to survive. How about you, Kasha? I know that romance, you're either all in with romance, I feel, or you really don't care for it. If I said Heartstopper or Red Wine, Royal Blue to you.
Yeah, I've read Red Wine, Royal Blue twice this month. I would like to admit that.
This month,
I'm living for it. I watch the movie every day. I would like to inform you, I'm on my 51st rewatch, 51, however that's called. So I'm not ashamed of it. But the thing is, either I'm reading like a full-on romance or I'm reading horror. I have more problem combining it. And I think it's because if you put romance in horror, it's really hard to build it up because you're focused on other stuff. And then the relationship always feels rushed to me. So I cannot get invested in these people's feelings when I just want to know who's going to die next. You know, it's like, like either we focus on making out or killing people.
I do find that in slasher movies,
So-
particularly. Do you find it super annoying when they're running for their lives and they're like,
Yeah,
"Wait,
they're like,
we're
let me
behind
kiss you
this
now.
car. Yeah, let's just have sex here." And you're like, "No,
Yeah.
don't take your clothes off. What are you doing?" So yeah, I get that. I think particularly, I think slasher books, I like it. Slasher movies, I always roll my eyes a little bit because it's like, why are you kissing Ron?
But you know, like in this book, I know, you know, at least it was not given an extreme importance, I feel, but I thought it was perhaps needed because Anna has never had that. And this was going to be the last time she was ever going to have that.
Oh
So
gosh,
I was there for her, you know, because of that. You know what I mean? Like I was feeling like, I think it's beautiful because she's never felt like this. She's never had somebody even caring for her at all. And now this stranger that I was supposed to, you know, kill her or whatever is showing her kindness and kissing her. And I was like, you know what? Let's get it, Anna. You know, let's go.
That's very true, actually. She never got that opportunity, did she? Like the white dress was all about like that night and that life that had been taken.
And she didn't get that. So
Yeah.
That's so
I was happy
sad.
for
Oh
her.
my gosh.
I didn't think about it like that. That is sad.
I know, that's so sad. You just made me change my mind on the whole thing. Wait.
Thank you, Pasha. I need you on all of my, like, when I'm trying to change people's minds. Like, I'm just going to hand over the floor to Kasha to comment you now. We like romance and horror now. Like, this is a thing. I'm just going to jump into the comments. I do need to say about the comments, by the way, that Kendare has kindly offered up a signed copy of the new Anna cover. So somebody who comments is going to get that. So people on screen are like, hang on, let me just comment real quick. So she's going to send that out. So she's going to hopefully dedicate it to whoever wins and sign it and stuff. So yes, if that gives you any motivation, people, to chat in the comments, please do. Kev is going to randomly pick someone, so you can't blame me if you do not win it. Yeah, totally, Morphin. I was convinced, and I've read the book before, so that shows that Kendara's like red herrings and clues are on point, because I was kind of suspecting everyone all the way through. Yeah, it seems interesting, isn't it, that like it can either make or break it for you, I think, romance. And I don't think there's ever any way for an author to totally please everyone with that. I kind of think I've just accepted now that the romance is something, I do it. I know not everyone's going to love that, but hopefully there's enough blood that they won't mind. Oh, yeah. I mean, do you know what? I asked Kendare about that because she has loads of cats as pets. Like, she rescues cats and stuff. Like, she's just adopted another cat, and like literally it has its own home. There's a whole thing. Like, it's got like a whole place that it lives in her house. So I said to her, like, because you love cats so much, I was so interested in that. And she said, I had a cat called Tybalt at the time. I don't know if this made it into the interview, but she said that she asked Tybalt's permission, and Tybalt was like, yes, do what you will with me. And I was like, okay, well, if you ask the cat's permission, and like she said, like for the plot and things, that she just like, she needed it, like to kind of show what they were up against. And I was like, I get that. But yeah, I think the animal thing definitely, again, is another thing in horror that I know people like who will DNF a book instantly when that's in there. And I kind of, it bothers me, but I feel like it isn't an instant DNF for me. But yes, I understand. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you're watching Dawson's Creek and he's like, hang on, I'm just going to use like words that nobody understands.
I love that though. I love Dawson's Creek, by the way. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Yeah.
All time. Yay!
Great.
Yes.
They're all like, they're all 30, aren't they? And talking like
They are 30, like in real life, it looks like, and then it's fine if they talk like they're 30. I can suspend my disbelief. And the funny thing is, I'm not a romance person. Like, I really am not in books specifically, but like I said, for some reason I was like, Thomas. And then I don't know. There are a few things I like romance-wise, but usually no. And it just surprised me with this book, but also, yes, Dawson's Creek for life.
It has, on the slight side note of Dawson's Creek, it does have a whole feel. Like, I think Dawson's Creek, like, it's a time and a place. It all feels so strong. Like, you just, you're in it with them. It's like, it's just like you're in this real place of the creek, aren't you? Like, I like it too. I think that I do think that I agree with all of that. Realistic teenagers, excellent gore and sweet little bits too. Yeah, do you know what? I thought he was interesting and different for a YA character. Like, I like the kind of character with powers who comes along to help. I always think that that's a trope I enjoy. And he just was really like sweet and naive and kind of, I have this power, but I don't really know what to do and I might make a mess. I'm really sorry. Like, I really liked that. Yeah, I loved that too. I kind of misjudged her to begin with. Like, again, 3-time rereads in, and I liked the fact that she was like, actually, listen, I have a brain and a personality, so, you know, I like that. Yes, me too. I'm kind of sad that there aren't more, but in the new US edition, there is a novella, a Cass 10 years later novella, which I thought was pretty cool. Like, how he's feeling now. He still knows Carmel and Thomas, apparently. So I'm hoping that means that they're together. So it might be something for you two to read, Erin and Kelsey,
Oh my
especially.
gosh.
Thomas is, I'm going to have to let Kendare know that, like, Thomas is a consistent favorite here. I bet she'll be really pleased about that. Yes. Yeah, I agree that romance is one of those things. I like it, but it's not always needed. Yeah. Yeah, that was a good take as well. It's because he's going to leave as well, and you don't know what's going to happen with Anna. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the slasher thing. Yeah. Yeah, I have read, I think, nearly all of Kendare's books, if not all of them, and I love how she can shift for different genres, and like particularly the Buffy books. I just love how they're written. Like, I'm enjoying them so much with those that I like have to pace myself because I know the next one's not coming out till April, and I read the second one early, so I'm sad because it's going to end up being like nearly 2 years between reads. Yeah, I think that that's the sign of a great author, that when you're like slowing yourself down because you're enjoying it so much. It does, it really does. Yes, precisely. I mean, that was my discussion with Cameron. Why do I just get back to kissing and murder? I'm really sorry. Is this all I talk about, like, on repeat? It's just what I like. Yeah, I know. Kasha, like, really made us think. I'm glad of that, because I think sometimes I love it when somebody else's viewpoint comes in and you're like, oh, I have to reevaluate my whole worldview. Thank you, Kasha. That's cool. Let's see what Ray has to say, and then I'll jump onto another question. Yeah. I'm glad we'd planted that seed in your mind, the trope of like, this is how you survive. So we've mentioned the gore a little bit. Like, did you find the book scary? I know what some of you are going to say. I found it really scary, like particularly the bit where Cass went down to the basement, like he found himself down there and there's like all these dead things rising up. And I think the bits where Anna lost control were quite scary too. Like, because I was like, is she actually going to rip Carmel's head off now? Like, I don't want her to do that. I'm afraid. So yeah, I was pretty scared for the characters, for myself. Like, I was scared. How about you, Katrina? Did you? I know that all of you kind of read a lot more grown-up horror than me, so I bet you might not be as scared as me. But how about you, Katrina?
Yeah, I think the tension was there. Yeah, I think the tension was there, especially with Anna. Like, you didn't know if she could control herself and stuff. I thought that was really interesting. It was almost like a vampire aspect to it. The basement scene, I do remember that. And I was like, I think I was listening to it and I was like doing something and I stopped and I was like, oh, that's spooky. like that's a great imagery there.
I think Kendare knows her horror tropes really well. And I like the fact that even though this book wasn't all about like kind of delving into different tropes, she managed to get a few really good ones in there, like the kind of spooky older guy who helps and the basement. I love a scary basement. Well, I'm glad it got you a little bit as well. How about you, Kelsey? Did you find it scary at all?
Well, I have kind of like a heart of stone, kind of. So like nothing scares me really in books. Very few books scare me.
Yeah.
But I will say the spookiness vibes, they were there. And I liked the vibes a lot. Like I said, I think my favorite part was her destroying Mike for many reasons. The imagery was amazing. The way it was written, I was like, yes. I mean, I know it's supposed to be horrifying, but I was more excited about it. Then it went there. That's what I thought was like, oh yes, this is the spooky vibes. This is the gory vibes I like. So it hit the vibes for me. And that to me is just as good as being like scared, because I don't really get like, scared. But I could appreciate what it had. And I did like that.
Oh, that's cool. I'd love to see you scared. I always think this with Kasha. Like, if Kasha ever says to me a book is scary, I'm going to be like, I don't dare to read it. I think it might ruin my life. How about you, Kasha? Did you find any part of it scary, or is it just not like extreme enough?
Well,
And
it does.
it
It's
can't
not so
be.
much with the extreme, you know. It's for me also paranormal doesn't have the same like effect on other things. So I don't find paranormal, supernatural scary or disturbing in any way. So it doesn't really get to me anyway. But I think it had really good moments, especially when like I like reveal surprises, you know, that shock me more than horror because I don't see movies that scare me or read books that really scare me. But you know, the moment where they realize that this evil was with them all the time inside of the house, I think that's a really good, shocking, like horrifying moment. It's like those typical movies where the twist is that somebody has been living between your walls, watching you all of this time, and it's kind of that kind of feeling. And I thought that was a really good moment for me. I think that might have been like my favorite horror moment, apart from all the guts and you know people dying, split apart in pieces, being bitten. Like love that he eats the people and you know gets stronger. Like all of that, living for him. But yeah, like it's hard for me to get really like physically scared or like have to put a book down because it's too much or stuff like that. But I think for a YA it was quite intense.
Yeah, and I found that some things genuinely surprised me. Like usually with horror, I feel like the door opens, I know what's going to be behind it. You fall into the basement, and I know what's going to happen. Like I really didn't expect. Like even though I've read it before, I'd forgotten that Will and I forget his friend's name, but like the two jocks were like dead in the bedroom. I was like, oh, they're dead. Like I had a proper moment of- and I love it when a book shocks me. Like it doesn't happen very often, and that one did it a few times, and I should have known better because I've already read it. Yeah. How about you, Erin? Did any of it scare you, or was it more like about vibes and atmosphere like the others?
Yeah, I also do not get scared that easily from books or movies anymore. I think I'm too hardened. I've been doing it for too long that it's too hard to get me that good. But yeah, I really like the imagery. I think that it had a good creep factor for sure, and I can see a lot of people like getting those feelings, which for me, if I can imagine other people getting it, then I can think that's successful because I know I won't, but I can see other people doing it. So because the vibes were there and it had a good creep factor, I would say that like other people will have that feeling. So therefore I think it does a good job at it.
Yeah, that's a good point actually, because I do sometimes like read books and like lately and not enjoy them. I actually think I can see what this book is doing and like who it's doing it for. And I think if you can do that, then it's succeeded, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So a few people have some feelings about some of the scenes we've discussed. Yes, yeah. I think that Kendara is very knowledgeable. Like I know that she was saying that in October she often watches one horror movie a day. So she's seen a lot of horror movies. And I think that you can tell that from her writing. Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Sharon. Yes, I'm glad that we all found that deeply satisfying. I think that she made him so terrible. We were just like, yes, that's fine. Please disembowel him. It's okay.
We should put that on book discussions. Please rate your deaths from favorite to least favorite.
Yeah, I know. Like ones that you were fine with. Yeah, I think chilled is definitely like that kind of unsettled, creeped out feeling. I love that when I'm reading. I felt that a lot. It's so unsatisfying. Yeah, it's I mean maybe they all agreed. They were like, he's not worth the effort. Also, like Will was trying to avenge him really hard, and I was like, was he that good a friend? Like,
no.
Is he worth like threatening other people over? I mean, I know everybody has somebody that loves them. Hopefully, maybe he was Mike's person. Yeah, that was really creepy. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Like he's very representative of. Yeah, I love you guys. Like this is excellent. Yes, thank you, Sharon, for that imagery. Let's just all take that to bed with us tonight. Yes. That's excellent. I like the fact that you read it and instantly were like, yeah, Sharon, you should write a book. Totally creep us all out, please. No worries. That's cool. Well, is it cool? Are we fed up with fireworks already when it's the 1st of October and we normally get them on the 5th of November over here? So there's people over a month early. You can catch up if you've just joined us now. You can catch up later. You will be able to watch this on my channel still. So we've mentioned the ghostiness a little bit, and I want to delve into that. Whenever there's like a creature in a book, I really like it when there's a good explanation of the parameters of it. And then when you get some stories about them as well. And I asked Kendare if they were all real, and some of them were real, and some of them, like, you know, were taken from the area where it's set, and some she made up. So if you're really interested in any of them, you'll have to look it up and see whether it's a real one or one from Kendare's Twisted Imagination. Because my favorite one, which was the cop and the like, it was a hostage situation, wasn't it? And it was the criminal and the cop ended up trapped in the same spirit. I thought that was horrifying, and she made that up. I was like, well done. That terrified me. Yeah, actually, that was probably a bit that actually really unsettled me. Because I put myself in that, like, imagine if that's what happened when you die and you're trapped to somebody that is going to send you mad. That's a really horrible thought. So I wondered, what did you all think of the ghostiness? I really liked it. How about you, Erin? What did you think of the kind of the ghost mythos of this book and, like, the stories included?
I actually liked it because I feel like a lot of times the backstories are a little generic sometimes in, like, ghost-centered books. I mean, they're always kind of similar. I feel like you could probably figure them out if you, like, just get some context clues at times. Like, I feel like, especially if you read a lot of them, like haunted house books, you can kind of figure out what's going on and stuff like that. So I feel like it was actually interesting to have each one be very different from each other, which I found really interesting because I love any horror book that has ghosts in it. That's, like, my favorite. It's a trope that I just love so much. I love ghost stories. It's what I grew up reading as a kid, so they're just very, like, nostalgic for me. So it was very interesting to see a twist that, like, really focused on the ghosts as individuals and not, like, just a blanket of, like, I was murdered. That's it.
Yeah, I think that makes it more interesting from Cass's point of view, because he has the emotional aspect of that, like dealing with the fact that that's a person, and the fact that it's difficult because they're not all the same. You can't just go in and stab and it's done. Like the hitchhiker one, like he had to, like, elaborately, like, dress up in an outfit for the time period and a car. Like, I really liked that it wasn't just, because I think Sam and Dean, sometimes they make it look really easy, like they turn up and the ghost happens to be there. Like, I like the fact that he had to really work at that to get this ghost to appear. And then it was a proper battle as well, where he nearly drove off the road, off the bridge. Yeah, I thought that was really cool as well, that they were, like, really distinct. And also I couldn't tell which were the made up stories. And I liked the fact that she's, like, interwoven the kind of local culture with the stuff she made up. How about you, Kasha? What did you think of the ghosts?
I like something that Kendare brought to the book, which is that we don't know what happens to the ghosts if Cass decides to banish them from this world. I like that it's not, centered in any sort of religion or belief. It's kind of, like, open. And even Cass has, like, a moral problem because he doesn't know where they're going to go and if it's going to be better or worse than the current situation. So I've never really seen that discussed, like, so deeply in a ghost story. It's mostly like, we need to help them over. It's better for everybody. Okay, bye. It's like nobody really thinks about what happens. Why are they stuck? Where do they go? So, like, I like that she put some thought into it and give, like, the ghosts, like, more like a human aspect, which helps to care for Anna. Like, even the ghosts can be hurt, they bleed. Like, it's all, like, humanizing the ghost and making Cass' decision really hard. And, he kind of is put between what he has been taught to do and what he now starts to see as another reality he hasn't ever considered, because he's just doing what his father did and never really questioned it. So I really like that aspect of the ghost.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that it kind of paints Cass in a different light as well, because from some people's views, like, he's the villain, like he's doing something to these characters that they don't necessarily want. And, like, it makes you think about it in a different way, definitely. How about you, Katrina? What did you think of the ghosts?
I'm trying to remember.
Oh no, I'm sorry. It's a while since, isn't it? Like, is anything you've said, like, anything we've said, like, rung any bells or?
No, I remember liking, like, the stories and stuff of the ghost, and it wasn't like, there wasn't, like, any time too where he was, like, called into a situation. Nobody called him to be like, you need to get rid of this because I got to sell my house or something. Like,
Yes.
because that's usually how it is. It's like, oh, this ghost is, interfering with my life. We have to get rid of it. Like Ghostbusters or something. And I think that was referenced. I feel like
Like
he
3
referenced
times. I love
yeah,
that it was
Ghostbusters was referenced a lot. I remember that. But yeah, I remember liking it. Let's just say I remember liking the ghost.
No,
But I love ghosts too. I love ghost stories and stuff. And it did feel like emotional too. Like
that's a good point that he decided as well. Like, just what makes him, like, gives him the right to decide, like, for those ghosts. That's a really good point. How about you, Kelsey? What did you think of the ghosts?
I loved the ghost aspect of it. I thought it was very different from a typical traditional haunted house / ghost story. I love that Anna could feel guilt, even though, I mean, knowing her backstory, once we learn her horrific, horrible backstory about how she died, I just feel like who could blame her? She wasn't at fault for what she did, but yet she still felt all this terrible guilt, and she was haunted. Like, once she was kind of freed, I thought that element was so cool and so different that she was almost like afraid to be in the house, so she tried to stay out of the house as much as possible because these ghosts were just like, yo, you killed me. Well, especially one guy was like, I was just trying to take a nap. And then, like, you killed me. So I thought that was a little sad, but also a great element that I wasn't expecting per se. And I love how it wasn't just a ghost story, that we had like voodoo elements being from New Orleans and all those New Orleans references about voodoo. And also just the general New Orleans references with Daisy being from like New Orleans and giving him the hints from New Orleans. And he's like, I hope Daisy doesn't wind up like someone that I'm going to have to go take care of one day because he's involved in all this crazy stuff. And like, I'm never going to go to New Orleans. Like there's too many ghosts over there. So I just kind of like, I'm a little biased, but I like all those New Orleans references because, I'm from New Orleans. So I liked that a lot.
I mean, that's praise, isn't it? That if it's a place you're from, like we've said before, like about the Mina books, I really liked, like, your praise means a lot about the location because you actually know it. There's people who've read it and they've never been there. So it matters what they think, but it like really matters the fact that you, so I'm sure Kendare would love that like, you were like, yes, this feels like New Orleans.
Yes.
But I still say it wrong. I'm really sorry. Like, apparently if you're from the UK, you're not allowed to say New Orleans. So I've just learned to live with that.
You can say it whatever way you want to say it.
Thank you. I'll take that as my permission as somebody from there. Whenever I do interviews, I feel weird every time I say the word. I'm like, I'm saying it wrong. Yes, I liked that about them as well. Oh, thank you. I mean, I hope we don't spoil anything for you. I think you would enjoy it. Again, Vix, I think that maybe it's not as extreme as what you normally read. But there's definitely a lot in there, I think, for you. And thank you for saying that you love us all. That is very lovely.
Oh.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That is very, very good point. I didn't see that. Andres always does this, like gives me an extra layer to think about. I'm like, oh, yeah, let me just pause and think about that for a second. Yes, that is really good. It's easy. I've been there as well, like for things to feel one note when you're telling lots of stories about something, like she managed to make them all sound really distinct, and that is a difficult thing to do. Yes, I think that's why I think it really worked a YA book. I sometimes wonder, like, could this be older characters? But I think the fact that he was young did make it really sad, like that this had just been his life, like his teenage years when he's meant to be figuring some massive burden, and he kind of doesn't know if he's like one of the only people doing that. So, and he's just got to kind of keep going, like one ghost at a time. Yeah, exactly. That is really sad. And like with the cop, it was kind of a mixture of the two. That's terrifying. Okay, so let me see, like from the questions, I know we've talked about lots of things. What did you think of the ending of the book? I know, Katrina, it's been a little while since you've read it, and I read it a few days ago, and I'm like, I'm just going to go back to the ending. Like, you just read it. Like, I'm now looking at, so there's an epilogue, wasn't there? And like, so it was like Cass basically saying he was going to try and figure out like what happened to Anna. I've just gone back to check because my memory is terrible. Like, what do we think of that? Like the open-ended ending that it gave us. Like, Kasha, were you feeling that? Would you have liked a little bit more resolution, or do you like the kind of little glimmer of hope for Anna?
I don't mind the epilogue or when a book ends in an open ending. If it's done right, it has to make sense. But I did like something that happened, when everything was going down and they were going to defeat this big evil, because something that bothers me in horror movies and horror books is when you have this huge evil that you've not been able to defeat for years that has killed your family, and then in like 5 minutes you figure out how to get rid of it. And that irks me, you know. It's like, how did we figure out this quickly and then we managed miraculously to make it disappear when we created this big threat, you know? And I felt like this evil that they had portrayed like so difficult to defeat, like almost impossible, that I was afraid I was gonna hate the ending. But the fact that Anna sacrificed and there was a portal and she took it away, I felt it made sense. Like it was believable in a supernatural story, you know. So I was happy that they didn't end up like, oh, Cass defeats this guy with a knife or whatever, like the easy way out that a lot of horror looks for at the end. They're like, okay, we have to kill it now. I've been like threatening these people for 400 pages. We just need to get rid of it, you know. So sometimes I feel it's rushed and it doesn't make sense. And I know it's fiction and, you know, it's supernatural, but it has to make a little bit of sense as well. So I was really glad with how the final battle kind of went down.
I think that is annoying with the supernatural, because the supernatural is an easy answer, and if you take that easy answer out, like, you know, like, oh, suddenly a witch comes and she's got the spell that can just save you just when you need it. Like, I always feel a bit cheated when that happens. So yeah, I think that the fact that Anna had to make a huge sacrifice did make it like really meaningful. And then for Cass to have, you could have ended it there and like, you know, that's it. But I think because it was going to be a duology, it was nice that there's that little hint of this is what they can be doing in the next book. I liked that. How about you, Kelsey? Did you like the way it ended? Like the big scene and then the kind of little bit of hope afterwards?
Yeah, I definitely like the little bit of hope because it makes me want to read the next one. I always have trouble picking up the next book in a series. I'm terrible at that, but let's just say I'm saying right now that I want to. I want to read it. I hope I will read it. I'm just so bad at that. But I did like the big final battle between the voodoo guy, not necessarily voodoo, the offshoot of voodoo guy, and Anna sacrificing herself. I thought was really powerful. And I agree with everything Kasha said. I thought that was really like astute. I definitely agree with how it didn't seem like the easy way out because she's literally like, she was the central focus and she's gone. She had to sacrifice herself. So I loved that. Thought it was well done.
Yeah, I asked Kendare about the title of it, and she said that like the title was one of the earlier things that she thought of, and then she kind of fleshed out a story from coming up with this cool concept. And I like the fact that it was just all about Anna. Like Cass is the main character in the voice, but she is like the whole, like what ties the book together, isn't she? And gives it like a real meaning. So excellent. What did you think, Katrina? I know it's a while. Have we refreshed your memories about it? Like, can you remember what you thought of it?
Yeah, I remember thinking I think when I read it, I wasn't sure if there was a second one or there was going to be a second one, but I was like, oh, we left it open and now there is a second one. So, I still have to read it, but yeah, I liked the way it ended. I thought it felt right at the time.
Yeah, I think even if there hadn't been another book, having the glimmer of hope, I probably would have been satisfied because like I want there to be hope for them and I want the characters to be happy. So yeah, I think an epilogue, I think when done well, can be really good for that. Like it can just give you that, like the horror movie, like the after the credits or the during the credits bit, like you just get a little bit more. How about you, Aaron? What did you think of how it ended?
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I was a little worried that it was going to kind of wrap up a little too quickly. I was getting nervous. I was like, what is this going to do? I'm worried. But I also felt like there wasn't a better way to end it, honestly. Like, because if it had been like, oh, I don't know, like Kaz had just like defeated him on his own and then like Anna was fine and everything, and like they just like went on living like that, I just would have been like, that's weird to me. I don't really get that. Like I kind of was worried that was what was gonna happen. I was like, and then Anna sacrificed herself and I was like, okay, that's terrible, and I was sad. But then they give you the hope and I was like, okay, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it being like a little sad with like a tinge of hope at the end, because I also like hope at the end of my horror books, even though that's like, you know, a weird kind of combination sometimes. But I just like that little bright spot in like darkness, because I don't know, the world's so sad sometimes that like I want a little bit of hope, even if it's fiction. So like I was happy about that. So yeah, I agree with everyone else.
Yeah, and I think if a character, like the authors, like worked so hard to make you really care for Anna and think about what happened to her is terrible. Like if she'd just gone, I think that would have kind of like said that everything that happened to her, like it kind of makes it a bit meaningless. I think it has meaning that like they're going to fight for her, even though they don't even know where she is and like what this terrible place might be. And the next one I think is, I'm just looking at it now on the shelf, it's Girl of Nightmares. I wanted to say Muse of Nightmares, but that's the Laini Taylor book. I always get the two mixed up. So Girl of Nightmares, it's like, nightmares, whose nightmares, where is she? I like that. Let's just go for the comments because there's a few more. Yeah, and actually that was a real move for Cass, wasn't he? That he'd like not had friends before, and his mum was like, friends? People help me? Like, this is amazing. I liked his mum. I think that she was cool. Yeah, I mean,
yes. Oh my gosh.
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I think that lots of deaths in Game of Thrones annoy me. Let's do that as a different spoiler-filled chat. Okay, so yes, Kev knows everything. The interview with Kendare, if you want to watch it, it was super fun. It'll be up on Tuesday, and that we did an interview. I can't believe it was 2021. It feels like 2 minutes ago. But yeah, we were talking about all these bodies then, and I think we did a lot of Buffy talk too, because I was just super excited that Kendare was writing the Buffy books then. Yes, I mean, I definitely think, yeah. You can tell that there wasn't a book to base the last season on, in my opinion, but let's hope he does. He's just going to keep writing.
And now I'm just thinking about Game of Thrones, like Dragon Lady mad.
And I was mad about what happened to Dragon Lady, you know.
I know.
Yeah, I think, definitely. I think I thought that the end, like, I think the whole book in general, when you're dealing with ghosts and something that isn't, like, to me, is not realistic, like, to make me feel for them and, like, think of Anna as a person that's, like, already died and kind of almost believe it and suspend my disbelief. I think that was done really well. Though we've had a lot of serious discussion. So let's go to a silly question. So you have to take on Anna and you want to survive. So which character is going to help you do that? And I know what everybody knows that what I would answer, so I want to know what you would answer. I'll tell you mine at the end. It can be a character from a book, a TV show, or film. Who is going to give you the best chance of survival? Like, do you want to start us off, Erin? Like, who would you take with you to like take on Anna or some other scary ghost?
Okay, this was actually like really hard for me because I was thinking of all the characters I watch and I was like, or read about, and I'm like, who is gonna help me? So I settled on Bonnie from Vampire Diaries because I feel like she's a very talented witch, and I feel like she would have so much knowledge that she would just be like, I know what I'm doing, and I'd be like, you go, I'm gonna just wait back here, you let me know what's gonna happen, and I'm gonna leave it to you. So I feel like Bonnie could really take the reins and like do all the like the hard stuff, and then I could like just like finish it off real quick if I had to, you know.
That was a really good answer. I feel like I'm not going to give as good an answer as that. Sorry, I've just started with Erin and set the bar super high there. What's everybody else going to say? How about you, Kelsey? Do you have somebody that you think could like make you survive against it?
I think I have two. So the first, because they referenced Ghostbusters so much, I think like Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters would be really funny. Bill Murray, you know, he's my fave. So I was like, Bill Murray, he'd be my guy.
He didn't do anything though.
I know. Whatever. Everyone wants to be him though, because he's the coolest. Like if you're gonna be a Ghostbuster, I'd take Egon. I would take Egon as well, by the way. Egon has the brain, so maybe Egon actually is the right answer because one, he would probably bring a Twinkie. I could have that as a snack while he uses his big brain and his equipment that he designs himself to help me trap Anna. So maybe that, okay, I'm going to change it to Egon. So it's going to be Egon, R.I.P.
You kind of want all, just take all the Ghostbusters. Bill Murray for the
That's true.
Race.
They could all bring something unique and help me with Anna. But I would say my secondary choice would be Willow from Buffy. I think she'd have like great witchy powers to help me kind of defeat Anna. She'd have also the knowledge just like Egon. So both big brains and some like, you know, some extra power.
I was just thinking the Scooby-Doo gang would be like the worst because they just try and pull the mask off and be like, she's real, we're dead. Reika has a good answer too. Deadpool, because like you can't kill him. She tries to get him apart and you're just like, wait, head back on, let's go again. Yeah, that's a good answer. I mean, I think you two have like really like made me change my mind about mine now. I'm feeling uncertain now. I kind of want Dark Willow to look after me now. How about you, Kasha? Do you have an answer for this? Like, who would you take with you?
Yes, one of my favorite characters of all times, which is Bobby from Supernatural. I think Bobby would have my back because he has his boys' backs all the time, 100%. And Bobby's my man. Like, I love him so much. He's one of my favorite Supernatural characters. So I'll definitely take him with me. That's my guy. Yeah.
That's a good answer. How about you, Katrina?
Well, I was gonna say Willow as well, like later season Willow, from Buffy, because this book gave me such Buffy vibes too. Well, yeah, but I guess Giles,
Yeah, Giles
head of the
would be a
Scooby
good-
Gang.
Yeah. Sorry, somebody just put
Yeah.
Bobby. Oh, yeah.
Poor Dean. I mean, Dean has been through a lot, okay?
I kind of want to take Sam and Dean with me because I think
Yeah.
that I just want to look at them as well. Like, well, the ghost.
Okay, we do like the
watch them.
Ghostbusters. Sam and Dean for looks and Bobby to actually help us.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Sam and Dean would just like hack and slash until they got a result. Wouldn't they? Like, Bobby might actually think about it. Like, Bobby and Giles and, Egon would be like, let's actually think this through. They'd just be like, stab, dead. Yeah, and Sam and Dean, that's probably not the best reason to choose them. They're pretty, but I stand by it. I did also think like Buffy with an affirmate, but that felt like cheating because like she isn't really a ghost killer, is she? So I can't really just say Buffy. Buffy is always my answer. Like, how would you get through a slasher movie? Buffy. Buffy gets through like a horrible alien invasion. Buffy too. Okay, so can you recommend any books? This is my last question. If somebody loved Anna Dressed in Blood, I'm now looking in terror at my shelves. Like, what can I recommend? So I'm going to go to the crowd. In fact, I know what I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend In Every Generation, the Buffy book, because Kendare writes teenagers so well in that. She deals with vampires in such a like cool, interesting way, like she does ghosts in Anna. And obviously it's Buffy, so that's my easy answer. Everybody's looking at their shelves now, like,
Yeah, literally.
Ready. I'm going to go to Castle. Like, do you have any recommendations?
I wrote down The Girl from the Well by Rinchu Peko because it's also about a Japanese ghost and a human that kind of have to help each other in a way, even though it's kind of like an unusual relationship as well. So it kind of fit a little bit that kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's a good recommendation. I have that somewhere and still haven't read it. So you're now making me want to like dig that out after Anna. I'm like, what other ghosts can I read? How about you, Erin? Do you have any book recommendations? I feel like there must be a Darcy Coates one that you can draw on at this point.
Actually, how'd you know I was going to recommend a Darcy Coates? Okay.
I don't know. Which one? Tell me, because I actually need a new Darcy to read, so please.
So I'm actually going to go with her YA. It's not the new one that's coming out in November because I haven't read it yet, but she has another YA one, The Fullcroft Ghosts, which is about a brother and sister who go to stay with their estranged grandparents, and there's some creepy things happening. It's very The Visit. If you've ever seen that movie, it's very similar to that. And I think Darcy does really good ghost imagery. But I'm also biased. I love Darcy, so
I haven't read any of her YA books. When you said YA, I was like, hang on, did I know this, that she wrote YA ones? Are they the ones that look a bit like the Red Eye books, like quite kind of like bold, a bit brighter? I'm trying to think of what's on the covers of them.
She only has that I'm aware of, the Fullcroft Ghost, and then the one that's coming out, Where He Can't Find You, which is coming out in November.
Oh, okay.
So all her other ones, the main characters are at least in their like mid-20s. Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, I'm thinking of different ones. I think they might be adult ones, the ones I'm thinking of. Yeah, I need to get that. That sounds
Katrina
awesome.
always has the book that someone's talking about ready. She always does this. Like, it happens all the time.
Unless it's
It
like,
does happen all the
if
time.
it's in one of my collections, like Stephen King Point Horror, True Blood, I can do it. Otherwise, my books are just pure chaos. Like, I've got Legends and Lattes next to like The Afterlife of the Party next to Daisy Jones. So I'm no help when it comes to the quick book grab. I'm not good. So Katrina, tell us what's a quick like book grab that you can do for this one? Like any Anna-esque books that you can think of?
Yeah, I think White Smoke by Tiffany D. Jackson is a good one for like a unique haunted house story. And it has some of the same aspects, I feel like, of Anna Dressed in Blood. And it really creeped me out. This is like my worst fear. And there's some other stuff in this too that is like my worst fear. So yeah, this one was very, very scary.
And that's YA too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the scary side of YA. Okay, that sounds really good. How about you, Kelsey?
I'm going to have to second. My first thing will be to second what you said. In Every Generation, I think is fantastic. I was so nervous before I read it last year
Same.
that it wouldn't be faithful to the show. And I was like, how is this going to go? You know, it's in the universe, but is it going to really like capture the vibes, the characters that I know and love? And I really think she did a great job at it. I honestly 100% do. And this is coming from somebody who was like deathly afraid to read it because I love Buffy the show so much, and I'm, you know, very like attached to it, and I don't want the characters to, you know, be mistreated in writing form. I don't want them to be like, oh, this is not them. Like, I don't want to be like, this is totally not Spike. I thought she did a great job at like specifically some characters, like maybe the one I just alluded to, perhaps. Anyway, I thought, I don't want to spoil anything, but I do think it's a great Buffy book. And if you're afraid that it's not going to live up to the show, I do think you should take a chance, dip your toe in, read it, especially if you enjoyed this book. Her writing style is great, and I just think she's really good. She's an approachable writer in terms of her writing's very easy to digest. I love that about her. This is not only my second read from her, but I cannot wait to keep reading more from her. I think she's great. I will say, so the other thing, and this is kind of like a cheating answer as well, because it seems like an easy suggestion, but the other book you had us talk about here with you, Amy, Frozen Charlotte, I thought was a great book. And the reason I'm suggesting it is that it's a little bit different of a story, but I think the creepy, spooky, gory vibes are there for Frozen Charlotte. I think it's a really great, in fact, I actually gave it a higher rating than Anna Dressed in Blood. I just think it's a little like extra spooky. So if you're looking for a more spooky leaning YA, I think Frozen Charlotte is great. And I think it would be a really great winter read too, because it's got like the vibes, the cold vibes. And also
it has
just like
isolated vibes.
Yes, the isolated vibes and like the creepy house vibes too.
Yeah, and the story of the girl who froze, like running through it, you get this like little lines of the poem, don't you, about this like the Frozen Charlotte story. Yeah, definitely a good recommendation for winter. Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to go down because I think some people in the chat are giving some recommendations. Ooh, Kendare has 2 Buffy books available signed for one person in the Read for Pixels fundraiser. That is awesome. Ooh. I haven't heard of those. That sounds really cool. The Spook Show series. Excellent. I think a lot of us at this point are like adults who read YA, so it's sometimes good to get like, if you're an adult and you want a YA feeling book. Ooh, that sounds good too. I've read some Darren Chan. I read his Cirque de Freak, I think they're called, these like vampire books. I really like those. Oh, I'm just saying ooh to all these. They all sound really good. I have that somewhere as well, The Take of Jack Livingston. I think, did you read that one, Kasha? I feel like you maybe enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I didn't like it. So
you didn't like it?
No, it was just not for me, I guess, you know. It's personal taste. Nothing wrong with the books. It's always like personal.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree. Yeah, I do need to read more of them because I have literally just read the vampire ones, and I've heard that all this is Darren Chan, all these other middle grade. They're like middle grade, but like pretty scary, gory middle grade. Excellent. I haven't heard of those. I'm gonna have to go back through this chat, like write all these books down. That is good to know. I can't wait to hear what you think of White Smoke Bix. I think I'm gonna add that to my list. Exactly. And the thing is, Kendare really loves Buffy too, and I think she felt like the weight of responsibility and wanted them to be really good and really faithful. And she just kept asking Disney. She said, like, so, you know, without giving spoilers, she like really wanted like beloved characters to be okay, because they obviously told her like, this is the arc that you've got to stay within the Buffyverse. She's like, yeah, but this character can be okay, aren't they? And they're like, So yeah, she is one of us. Like, she really wants like the best for the Buffyverse. So that's really cool. I love it that like when people can pin it down. For me, it was Northern Lights. When my granddad bought me that, I was like, oh, fantasy is a thing. That kind of, but yeah. I don't know what I read that as, but I know what you meant. We have a winner. Vix has won the signed copy of Anna Dressed in Blood.
Yay!
I will pass it on to Kendare. That is really cool. So going to a good home. I'm hopefully going to get a copy of the new edition at some point because I have to read that story. Like I need to know about Cass in 10 years' time. I want to see like Thomas and Carmel hopefully together and super happy. Fingers crossed.
Yes, please.
Thank you so much, everyone on screen, everyone in the chat. That was so fun. I'm really glad that we kind of had similar feelings about it. I think it's fun when people like, sometimes people don't like it, but also sometimes it's just really nice to all go, yeah, this is really good. Like, I think we had a similar chat from Frozen Charlotte, like kind of really good, like YA horror vibes. So next month we are reading Every Exquisite Thing by Laura Stephen, which is very different. This is a Dorian Gray retelling. I've already read it. Please check the content warnings because this is intense. It deals into a lot of issues like about self-image, about disordered eating and things like that, and like society's pressure to be beautiful. It's very much like takes a lot out Dorian Gray and kind of brings it into a modern sapphic context, I might add. So yeah, this is what we'll be reading in October. And I'm just in the process of organising, but Cynthia Murphy I think is going to come and chat about that with us, and Jem who's my friend from Instagram and TikTok is going to chat about it as well. Yay! I'm glad you're excited. That sounds excellent. Okay, definitely bookmarking that one. Okay, and I'm not going to be doing as many sprints this month. If anybody's looking for them, I'm going to be doing them on a Thursday because I'm interviewing so many people. I'm like eating into my StreamYard hours. So until I start paying for StreamYard, which I'll have to at some point, I won't be here as often. But yeah, I'll be here on Thursday. So thank you again, everyone. And I'm going to end this now, but we will hopefully be able to catch up soon. Bye.